October 7th, 1 year ago. It seems hard to believe, but what are your thoughts as we recognize this sad anniversary?
It would be nice to believe that over the course of a year that we had entered somewhere other than where we are, right? We're still deep in war. We have an expanding war in Lebanon. Hamas is, I think, largely destroyed as a fighting force, not as a political entity. There is no horizon for the day after, no plan for what should happen next in Gaza. Israel's international reputation is in tatters. There's tragedy to go around here. There's still more than 100 hostages believed to be alive in Gaza. I think I would have thought that a year after October 7th, we would have had more visibility into what would come next. And in many ways, I think we have less than we did even 6 months ago, 8 months ago. There's an almost like a haze of impossibility around any answer you might try to imagine. And so I come to the anniversary of this with a lot of, I don't want to call it despair, but sadness.
It's such a complex situation, and I don't think we could really cover the breadth and depth of the challenges here. But what, in your view, making you kind of synthesize this, and I'm sorry in advance, Ezra, but what do you think are the major obstacles to carving out any kind of ceasefire or any kind of plan for the future of Gaza?
An irreconcilability of interests. Israel's fundamental position, which is understandable, is that Hamas can have no role, functionally cannot exist in a reconstructed or reconstructing Gaza. Hamas is not going to accept that. Hamas's position is that if Israel wants its hostages back, they have to pull fully back, and there has to be internationally enforceable prohibitions on Israel simply restarting the war after the return of the hostages. Israel's not going to accept that. I've seen a lot of negotiations and reporting on negotiations and discussion about, why the ceasefire fell under these conditions. But I don't believe the ceasefire deal has ever been anywhere near real. I think Benjamin Netanyahu has felt that he needs to be engaged in such negotiations in order to maintain the support of the United States. But I don't think there's ever any intention of coming to a deal because I don't think that the fundamental positions of the two sides are in any way they cannot be matched together. He wants total destruction of and victory over Hamas. Hamas does not want to lose this war. It does not want to be annihilated as an entity, and it does not want Israel leaving, declaring victory. So until you can kind of see some union of interests or positions, it is very hard to imagine what would lead you to some kind of answer.
This may sound like a dumb question, but I wonder, is there any possibility of Hamas being replaced by a different group of leaders that are not a so-called terrorist organization to rule Gaza from here on out? Because Hamas also terrorizes the citizens of Gaza. I mean, how much popular support do they command?
Hamas has often not been popular. I do not think we really know what their popular support looks like now. I'm very loath to trust polling happening in this kind of condition. But there has been no version of some other governing entity that the top levels of Israeli politics have even come anywhere near endorsing, suggesting, saying they would be willing to live with. And I've spoken to people at the top of Israeli politics about this who are on different sides of the issue. And none of them have even, honestly, in the end, pretended to have anything that sounded to me like a vision for this. So
But
Netanyahu has been very clear.
what about the surrounding Arab countries, Ezra?
They do not want this problem. Like, imagine you're Qatar or Saudi Arabia or Jordan. You want to come in and govern an absolutely annihilated Gaza to some degree on behalf of an Israel that is going to demand full security control and access to make sure that there is no recomposition of anything that could ever threaten it. And if you're some other Palestinian group, right? Israel said it can't be the Palestinian Authority, which is not strong in Gaza anyway. But Israel said it can't be them. who are you're going to rise up and put a target on your back for either you are governing in a way Israel doesn't like and you become a target for them, or you're governing in a way that Hamas or other groups like it do not like and feel you're now a tool of the Israelis and you're a target for them. It's very, very, very hard to imagine who it is who is going to step into that role. In many ways, I think the thing that the Israelis will not say aloud, but that they all actually know, is that the real net out of their vision right now is fundamentally very similar to a renewed occupation. They don't want to say that. It's not popular in Israeli politics either. But it is the thing that is, as far as I can tell, happening on the ground, and they're not really going to be able to avoid. Now, things change in politics. Maybe a year from now, we're going to be in a different place than we are right now. But that is where we are right now. The reason you have never heard a day after plan is there's no day after plan that makes sense to any of the people proposing it, given what their other priors and non-negotiables are.
I want to close by asking you about Benjamin Netanyahu, who I understand is gaining popularity with the military action in Lebanon and the killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah last Friday. Is he here to stay? Has he gotten sort of a new lease on leadership as a result of the military action into Lebanon?
Netanyahu was gaining popularity even before the military action into Lebanon. I mean, there was a period after October 7th when every person I spoke to in Israel told me, I don't know what will happen. The only thing I know is Benjamin Netanyahu's political career is finished. And then slowly, month by month, he began to climb. Benny Gantz, I think, sort of had a moment and was not able to capture it. There are other people in Israeli politics, Naftali Bennett being one, who have at times polled ahead of Netanyahu. But Netanyahu he's a much more adroit politician than most of his competitors. He represents much of where the Israeli center is. I think something that we in America do not appreciate is how far Israeli politics had moved to the right even long before October 7th. And Netanyahu's been running this war. Israelis largely, almost entirely, support the war in Gaza. Now they've had a very successful, at this juncture, operation in Lebanon. Netanyahu's view always was that if he could hold on through the war, then by the time they got to elections, whenever that will be, his political fortunes might have changed dramatically. And so far that seems to be netting out, partially because there has not been any effective opposition to him that has a different view on the fundamentals. I mean, I will say this, it is very hard to beat something with nothing. And if you go listen to the people who are challenging Netanyahu for leadership, someone like Gantz, and you try to hear, well, what is it Gantz is saying he will do different? What is he saying he will do different in Gaza, with Lebanon, with Palestinians? You can't find it. This is not like the point in American politics where there was a pro and anti-Iraq war division. I mean, remember, of course, a year after 9/11, American politics was functionally deranged in its anger. And we hadn't even gone into Iraq yet, right? Our worst mistakes were yet to come. So in terms of psychologically where the Israeli people are, we're asking for a lot of change very quickly. But there are not divisions that are allowing Netanyahu's opponents to effectively attack him. I mean, Benny Gantz left the war cabinet in part because there was no day after plan. Does he have a day after plan? He does not. It's very hard to run against a leader when you don't have a strongly different plan from them.
Run against something with nothing. So to reiterate, 1 year after October 7th, the overriding emotion you're feeling at this juncture, Ezra, is despair.
Despair is a strong word, but I think we should, I mean, I think we should grieve. I think you should feel a lot of grief.
For everyone.
Yes.
All right. Ezra, thank you.
Thank you.